Welcome back to another video. In this one I'm going to show you how to install Gaffer, which is a powerful node-based lighting and look dev application specifically on the Mac. Now as you can see, I'm here on the main Gaffer website. This is the homepage for it. The website is gafferhq.org. Now if we head over to the downloads page once again, you'll notice that it's currently only officially supported for Linux and Windows. This is likely because macOS hardware and security requirements, especially with the move to Apple Silicon, change quite often. And the core team focuses their efforts then on the Linux builds, which are used in many of the major studios. In some cases, I'm sure a lot of studios use the Windows version, but nonetheless, that seems to be why the Mac version is not officially supported. Hopefully we'll see it on the Mac soon, but in the meantime, the installation is a bit of a DIY process. That said, we can still find the Mac install files on GitHub, and so I'm just going to click on this tab up here within my Chrome browser, and you'll see we're on a community repository where the user Noise Factory here has generously provided these releases for us to use. This one was released March 11th, 2025, so hopefully this will be updated soon. But nonetheless, what you can do is click on this zip file here, Gaffer Xcode 15 macOS ARM64, and then it will download likely into your downloads directory on your computer. Just a heads up, I'm getting a bit sick, so if my voice sounds a little off, that would be why. But once the file finishes downloading, you'll want to go ahead and unzip it. Once it finishes unzipping, you'll see the extracted folder then pop up. You can then drag that entire folder into your applications directory, as I've done here. Now this step is important because how Gaffer runs will be path dependent, so make sure it's in the applications folder before moving on. Next, what we need to do is remove macOS security restrictions that would otherwise prevent Gaffer from opening up. Since it's not an officially signed Apple app, macOS flags the files inside the folder that we just moved over into our applications directory as untrusted. So to fix this, we're just going to enter a command within the terminal window that I have up over here. And so this line of code is going to tell macOS to trust all of the files inside of that Gaffer folder as we've specified right there within that command by removing the quarantine flags otherwise associated with those internal files. And so by running this command, we'll be able to then actually open up Gaffer. By the way, I'll have this command within the description below along with the rest of the commands or lines of code that I end up using throughout the rest of this video. So feel free to just copy and paste it from there. Now to actually execute this code within the terminal here, let's hit the Enter key. You'll then be prompted to enter your password. Now, as you type out your password, you won't see the characters typing out within your terminal. Just trust that you are actually typing out your password. Now, once you're done, of course, just hit the Enter key. Now, at this point, the command will have run and you'll have taken care of the security side of things and you'll effectively be able to now open up Gaffer. The question is, though, how exactly do we go about doing that? Now, before we talk about the first approach, I'm just going to close out this terminal window that I have open because I won't be able to actually enter in any new code or do any commands given its current state until I enter my password, but I just don't want to do that right now. So I'm going to close out this terminal window, terminate that, and I'm going to open up a new one. All right, now I'm actually just going to close my downloads window here as well for my Finder window. I don't really need that open at this point either. And now we can get into the first approach to opening up Gaffer. So what you could do is navigate into your main Gaffer directory and then go inside the bin folder, and then you could double click the Gaffer executable file. Now you'll first notice that a terminal window first popped up and then boom, there's Gaffer. So first of all, let's celebrate, Gaffer's open, amazing. But again, as you would have seen, that terminal window opened as well. So what does that mean? Well, the reason this happened is because Gaffer is a raw Unix executable, not a packaged Mac app. So macOS has to launch a shell environment in order to run it. Now, this is one of the kind of major downsides of opening up Gaffer in this way, because as a result, this terminal window here is kind of acting now as Gaffer's life support. If you at any point forget that they're tied together and then accidentally close that terminal window, for one reason or another, Gaffer is instantly going to shut down and then you're going to lose all of your work. So for example here, if I just close out this terminal window and then I confirm it by clicking terminate, boom, there goes Gaffer, right? And so if you accidentally maybe force quit the terminal altogether or just accidentally close that specific window, you're going to lose all of your work. Regardless, if you wanted to take the risk and open it that way anyways, feel free. It's a free world. Now, to make that process a bit easier on you, what you could do is right-click on that Gaffer executable and then go and make an alias of it. Now, from there, you could drag that onto your desktop or into your dock and open it that way. Now, in addition to that, you could also make a custom icon for that alias. Now, I'm going to go over more specifically how you would do that in relation to the app icon that we're going to create for Gaffer a little bit later. But for now, I'm just going to delete this alias. Now, you could also drag this executable right into a terminal window, and then you'll see that an absolute path to that Gaffer executable was effectively pasted in there. And then if you hit enter, it would then open up Gaffer that way. However, this is effectively the exact same thing as double clicking the executable. It's just like another step and more work. And it's still going to have the same life support problem in relation to that terminal window as well. That said though, the biggest deal breaker with all these methods is that they launch blind. They skip your configuration files, meaning third-party renderers such as Arnold won't load, and any kind of custom scripts or plugins that you might want to install or set up for Gaffer won't run either. So what we're going to want to do next is start to establish a kind of framework or kind of engine effectively that the app that we're going to create for Gaffer will run off of. Before we do that though, I'm just going to clear out this line here so we can kind of have a clean starting point. I'm just going to hit Ctrl+A to go to the start of this line, and then I'm going to hit Ctrl+K to cut it. And there we go. All right, so next what we're going to do is open up something called the .zshrc file within the Nano editor. So I'm just going to type out nano. Now if I hit enter, we would just open up the Nano editor, but we wouldn't have opened that file specifically. So I'm just going to hit Ctrl+X to exit out of here. And now I'm going to type out nano space ~/.zshrc. And now as you can see, we've opened up that file specifically within this text editor. All right, next I'm going to just paste in these 2 lines of code here, which again, they'll be in the description below, so you can copy and paste them if you'd like. And now on the first line, what we're doing is creating an environment variable called Gaffer_root. And this is telling the system where Gaffer lives, which is clearly that folder that we've moved into the applications directory. And then on the second line, we're creating a terminal alias called Gaffer. And so when you then type Gaffer within a new terminal window and then hit enter, it will run the Gaffer executable and launch the application. Now, as you can see, we're directing the system to Gaffer via that Gaffer root, or that environment variable that we've already established on the first line. Now, this alias is not required for the application icon that we'll be setting up shortly, but it is another method to open up Gaffer, which you might want to use in some cases, and you might even prefer compared to the app icon itself. But with that done, let's just write this out to disk. So to do that, we can go Ctrl+O, and then we can hit enter to confirm that. And then we can hit Ctrl+X once again to exit out of there. Now we're gonna wanna run another command here. And this is gonna kind of refresh the terminal in relation to that .zshrc file, so that what we did in there in terms of creating that environment variable and that alias are available immediately. And now if I just type out Gaffer and then hit enter, you'll see that Gaffer now launches. Now, when you launch Gaffer this way via that alias that we've created, your .zshrc file is loaded first. So then your Gaffer root, that environment variable, along with any plugins that you might have installed, such as maybe Arnold as your renderer, or any other environment variables, are ready to go. Whereas double clicking that executable once again opens a terminal window, but it doesn't actually run a shell. So it won't actually see those settings. And that's where you could run into issues with kind of pathing errors and not being able to load any kind of third-party plugins or renderers, for example. Now the trade-off in some context, depending on your workflow, is that this alias keeps Gaffer tied to a terminal window, similar to the executable file. So that kind of trade-off, that downside is still there. But depending on your use case, you might actually prefer this because you can actually see kind of like the log output as Gaffer launches. Now for me personally, on my at-home computer, this is just kind of visual clutter for the most part. There might be some cases where I want to try to troubleshoot something, in which case I might launch Gaffer via the alias instead. But commonly I would just prefer a straightforward app icon to launch the application. So that's what we'll get into next. But now I'm just gonna close out this terminal window, terminate it, hasta la vista, and as you can see that once again, killed Gaffer. Now let's create that app icon. So first I'm gonna open up Spotlight by hitting Command Space, and then I'm gonna type in script editor, and we are going to open up the script editor application. I'm gonna hit cancel, file, new, and then I'm gonna enter in this line of code right here. Now this line might look a little intimidating depending on your experience, but it's actually doing a lot in a centralized kind of way. And yes, I did get a little assist from ChatGPT on this. We did team up, and by teamed up, I mean I fought it fought back, and after the mandatory AI trial and error phase, we eventually landed on something that actually works. But with that said, let's just break it down quickly. So first of all, what it's doing is sourcing that .zshrc file, that kind of framework or engine that we've now created, and it's kind of pulling from that. And so by doing so, we are ensuring that any environment variables or plugins that you might have set, such as that Gaffer root, or maybe potentially any other third-party render engines like Arnold or any plugins, are then loaded in. And then what it's doing is it's running that Gaffer executable file by using that Gaffer root, that environment variable again that we've established previously, which has already then been loaded. The semicolon is saying, and then do it, right? And so after that has been loaded, it is then running the executable. And then all of this is effectively just hiding all of the terminal output and keeping the app running in the background. Now, the best part of setting things up this way is that if you update your .zshrc file later on, then both the terminal alias as well as this app icon that we're making will automatically then use the new config settings. So it's just, again, simply one line. And so there's not any kind of like absolute paths here that are very specific to this application file itself specifically. Everything is pulling from that centralized source. And so that everything works, right? If it doesn't work there, then it's not going to work anywhere. But if it works there, it's likely going to work everywhere as well. But now that we have this established, let's just go File, Export, and then we can name it Gaffer. Let's change the file format to Application, and that'll change to .app. Let's save it, of course, to our applications directory, makes sense, and then let's click save. Now that we've done that, let's navigate to that applications directory, and now we can see here that we have the Gaffer application that we just exported out. All right, now let's double click it and give it an open. Awesome, it opened up, and you'll see that we don't have a terminal window that opened up alongside it, acting effectively as its life support. It's functioning on its own independently, and it would have also loaded as well with the proper preloaded environment and any kind of potential plugins, all of that we might have gone ahead and set up, and we are good to go. All right, next we're going to finish things off by customizing the icon for the application that we just created. So I'm just going to do a quick Google search for the Gaffer logo. And there we go. I'm just kind of in the images tab, doing an image search for it. Now you'll see we get a number of different options here. Not all of these are in fact the logo that we're looking for. This one looks like the right one. I tried this one initially and it actually worked fine. It is lower res though, and you do have to manually crop it more to make it work. This one looks preferable for sure. So what you could do is just save this to your computer, to whatever directory you would want to save it to, and then you could just open it up in your preview application and then go Command A to select it and then Command C to copy it. Alternatively, I think you could actually just copy the file with it just selected in your Finder and just go Command C, or you could just right click the image in your Chrome browser and then go copy image. And then what we would do is bounce back to our Finder. Here we are, and now I could just right click that Gaffer application, go get info, and then I could select the kind of default icon here that gets saved out when you save an application from the script editor. When I do that, you'll see it outlined in blue, and then I could just go Command V to paste that logo that I just copied from Google, and there we go. We have a custom app icon. Easy as that. Now you can drag that into your dock if you'd like, or just leave it in your applications folder, whatever floats your boat. But with that said, we are all done here. Now we can just double click this application icon once again, and you'll see Gaffer open up, and we're ready to rock and roll just like that. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. So I'm just gonna close that out. And yeah, you can feel free again to open that how you'd like. You can use the alias or the application icon or whatever method you would prefer. Again, I'm not a professional programmer or even commonly a TD. In the lighting world, I am a lighting artist specifically. I don't mind getting into the technical waters when I have to, for sure. And evidently I had to in this case, but it's still fun learning new things. And with that said, I hope you learned a thing or two. while watching this video and that you're now able to open up Gaffer. If that's the case, I'd appreciate a like and a subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.